Our guest for this episode is an Egyptian great scientist who succeeded to have his sprint in Germany, in Egypt, and a number of European as well as African countries. Our guest is Dr. Hani Swaylam.
Water is a very important aspect to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. 30% of achieving the 8 Millennium Development Goals is based on water. So if we are able to solve the water issues and water problems, it means that we reached already 1/3 of the Millennium Development Goals. And I do believe that capacity development is a very important aspect. So we have to focus on building our capacities, informing the people about our resources, especially that the access to clean water and sanitation has been declared now as human rights. So we have to work very hard, we have to enhance our capacity, we have to target many different stakeholders in order to save water for the next generation.
Dr. Hani Swaylam is a professor of sustainable water resources management in Aachen, Germany, and they call him the savior of the Rhine.
Title of the session is Water Management for Sustainable Development. And of course, we are going to discuss tonight the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs, the 17 SDGs that you're all aware of. And this is actually our own target here. Water is in the heart of the 17 development goals. And imagine if we have 2015, 2020, 2025, 2030, and on the y-axis we have a specific goal to achieve, mainly SDG 6. But as I said, water is playing an important role in all the 17 SDGs. If you have this goal that we have to achieve in the year 2030, as you all know in the SDGs, one very important aspect, if we continue what we did with the Millennium Development Goals, if you remember, the Millennium Development Goals ended by 2015. If we continue doing business as usual, we have no chance to meet this point up there. We will have to do innovation, we will have to do many different initiatives, to follow different approach in order to reach this point. So you could have a quick start to reach your objective in the year 2030, or you follow the slow path to achieve it. Or the ideal path, the green one in the middle, which is actually we will have to have new ideas, innovation, resources, and enabling environment in order to be able to achieve that. And this is, of course, was analysis that was done by UNU NV. Innovation normally doesn't have to be expensive. Innovation can be very simple, especially if you talk about developing countries, if you talk about African countries. So in one of the sessions, you will be hearing innovation about water harvesting, which is actually mainly something that's not very new, but we try to enhance water harvesting for farmers in order to avoid evaporation by covering such a pond by aquatic crop, in order to reduce the contact between mosquitoes and water and avoid evaporation, but also at the same time this aquatic crop, you use it for biodiesel or biofuel, and in the dry season in Africa you can start pumping water for irrigation. This is a very simple technique, there is nothing complicated, and that's why I've just tried to demonstrate that innovation doesn't have to be complicated from the technological point of view, but also innovation could be at the governance level, innovation could be also at the field level or the sector level, so innovation could be at any level.
Dr. Hani Swaylam was born in Sharqiya Governorate. He left Egypt in the year 1993 in order to study in England, and he obtained a master's degree in the field of harvesting from the University of Southampton. Dr. Heini Swelum traveled to Germany in 1997. He obtained his doctorate degree with distinction. Dr. Heini Swelum did not intend to emigrate, but he found opportunities in ways of tourism and Egypt.
In this project, I present also the Second Development Foundation, which is an Egyptian NGO working in the area of sustainable development, starting from bio-organic agriculture, organic products, exporting organic agriculture product to Europe, manufacturing, textile, engineering, etc. So this partner contribute in the project in a very important and playing a very important role. For example, they represent the industry in this consortium. So they have different factories, different enterprises, so they give us the feedback of the industry on our activities. So it's very important to engage them in all our implementation or establishment of the innovation chair in order, as I said, to give us feedback about the industry impression and the industry needs and requirements. Second Development Foundation is establishing a new university. This university has a clear mission, is to promote and the idea of sustainable development in Egypt. So we think that this project will have a very good impact and positive impact on the establishment process of this university, especially that we will establish from day one an innovation chair that links the university to the industry. So having a partner who is fully aware about the industrial needs, I think it's an added value to this consortium, and playing a very important role in this consortium also makes a lot of positive impact on Second Development Foundation and the establishment.
He's Executive Director of the UNESCO Unit for Climate Change and Water Management at the University of Aachen since the year 2009. He is the co-founder and member of the advisory board of the Shukra platform. He held the position of Water Resources and Sustainable Development Department at the university in Cairo between 2011 and 2017. Program Coordinator for the Water Capacity Development Decade of the United Nations Commission on Resources between 2009 and 2011, and Deputy Director of the Department of Water Engineering at Aachen University between 2002 and 2009, and a Research Assistant in the Department of Water Engineering at the University between 1998 and 2002. In addition to his work at the National Water Research Center of the Egyptian Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation between 1991 and 1997.
Of course, production of fresh water is something technical, something engineering, but I would like you to relax. I mean, there is nothing will be complex. I will be trying to give the nice and simple side of the process, not really the technical side. As a director of the Center for Sustainable Development, I also would like to link the production of water to the sustainability concept. Because we engineers, we always forget the interrelationship between our very technical, deep theories and experiments to the big picture. We always focus on our lab experiment and forget the farmer who is going to implement what we are coming. That's why we benefit from our colleagues from Haas, always to consult, to share, because it doesn't work. I mean, if you come up with technology that's not acceptable from a farmer, for example, I mean, it will not help us. If you come with a technology that's not economically visible, it doesn't work. That's why sustainability is the issue of bringing all these disciplines together. And now, as an engineer, trying to link this to the sustainability, and that's exactly what I would like to show you here. First of all, we just try to see, this is the scale that shows you the water scarcity and the water availability. The green part, which is above 1,700 cubic meter per person per year, is there no stress? This is fine, and most of the European countries, they are enjoying this luxury. And when it comes less than 1,700, you start feeling stress in the country of water availability. Of course, I'm talking about water available for everything related to each person. I mean, industry, agriculture, food, washing, etc., etc. Less than 1,000, you start the water poverty line. So 1,000 cubic meter per person per year is the water poverty line. That maybe most of you already aware of that. When it goes below 500 cubic meter per person per year, then this is absolute scarcity.
In 2017, he established a master's program in environmental management, the first center in North Africa for education for sustainable development of indigenous peoples from the United Nations University. He authored 21 books in the fields of water resources management, sustainable development educational development in the fields of water resources management, development, research, and papers in 4 scientific conferences, and he participated in 10 international committees. He holds a PhD in water resources management in 2002 from Aachen University in Germany, a master's in environmental and irrigation engineering in 1994 from Southampton University in the United Kingdom, a diploma in engineering in 1992 from Zagazig University in Egypt, and a bachelor's degree in environmental engineering and irrigation in 1991 from the university.
We are 650 to 670. So we are in the water scarcity phase, which means we are classified as a poor water in terms of poor country in terms of water, because we are already below the water poverty line, which is 1,000. So this was important for my coming slides. This is the list of all the countries in the Arab region, and you can see here the y-axis showing you 0, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and if we draw a line to see which countries are under the water poverty line, then you see that most of the countries are already under the water poverty line, and you can see Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, Qatar from the right to the left, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, etc. are already in the absolute scarcity phase. So you are really facing a huge challenge, and it has to be taken seriously, not only in Egypt, but in the whole Arab countries and also beyond the Arab countries. Countries like Australia, like Spain, are also suffering from water scarcity. Many African countries that we normally don't count. I don't know why, even my slide. On the other hand, our farmer still following the same methodology of agriculture which we learned from the ancient Egyptian time. This is the same methodology of agriculture that the ancient Egyptians did. This is the same methodology that you see it on the temples, on the walls, drawings, and the same approach. But the farmer is very smart, even though the farmer knows what he's doing. He has an economic unit, the people from the business, they know that, and he's managing it to make profit at the end. So for him to feed his family, the social dimension, he has to manage it in a visible way. I mean, it has to be valid. Otherwise, he should find another job, which is happening as well. People are traveling or leaving from migrating from the villages to the city because of that. Because it's not economically valid anymore. It's not visible anymore to be a farmer.
It has become a prime target of the country and finally archival and imperial in its governmental projects, water production, and he held the position of technical director of water engineering at the University of Aachen, Schiem 42, Schwemberg era, and it's worth mentioning that Dr. Henny Swelum established the first center in North Africa in many fields. Dr. Henny Swelum is a professor of development and water resources management, Best Agriculture, Aachen University in Germany, and he also served as academic director of water engineering at the same university. Dr. Henny Swelum is working on a project at Cairo University, Fayoum University, the American University and universities in Europe, such as the Agricultural University in Sweden, and the university from merely repairing land and transforming it into an integrated development. Dr. Henny Swelum is also working on master's diplomas and master's programs, diplomas and university youth, and worked at the Water Excellence Center in Alexandria to be a beacon in the field of scientific research in water research papers. You can also use solar energy and use water in food production in different forms, in agricultural projects and agricultural activities that work in addition to an integrated society. The story of the desert is not reclamation, but sustainable development.
Even the modern irrigation, and some people will be angry now, it's not the optimum way of agriculture for a country like Egypt. So what you see here, this central pivot system that it's irrigating big areas in the desert, I can tell you before the water reaches the crop, it lost more than 50% of the quantity. You are implementing it through this central pivot, this huge central pivot system that's irrigating an agricultural land under a temperature of more than 40 degrees in the desert. You can imagine what is the amount evaporated from this water. So we need not to import technologies, we need to think of technologies that fitting our circumstances, fitting our farmer, fitting our country, etc. So agriculture itself has inputs, now purely engineering, and output. The output is the food. The inputs, only two, I mentioned water and energy, but it can be also an agriculture area, it can be fertilizers, can be labors, etc., etc., etc. So when you talk about land reclamation, I'm not interested to hear that you are planning to reclaim like 1 million something or 1.5 or 4 or whatever. It's not my interest. I would like to know what is the productivity at the end. How many tons per cubic meter of water? How many tons per kilowatt hour energy? How many tons per farmer? How many tons per, or how many dollars per fiddan? That's what I'm interested in. But the area itself, to give me 1, 2, 3 millions, and at the end you are employing a very little amount, a very little number of farmers and producing very low productivity, doesn't help us. I'm sorry, I'm talking now economy, it's not engineering. So that's why we are talking about productivity. That's the issue. I'm interested to tell me I have a project that's going to produce X number of dollars and employ how many farmers or how many, I don't know what, and open how many factories, because I can tell you exporting fresh products, green, I mean fresh like vegetables, or it's not for Egypt. When you export fresh food, you are exporting water. Because the people, they hate me talking about virtual water again and again and again. But it is a fact. I mean, the 1 kilo of whatever is consuming thousands of liters. So when you export it for a very little amount of money and you get, I don't know, $0.1 per kilogram rice or whatever, you're just exporting cubics of meter in the form of 1 kilo rice for $0.1. I mean, doesn't make any sense. That's why we have to think about the future. And when we think about the future, we have to see Africa. We have to see the Nile Basin countries and what's happening and what's going to happen in the future. We have 11 Nile Basin countries are sharing with us the river. So they have also some rights. And we have rights on water. So we have to think about that. We have to think about the Ethiopian dam that it's going to produce 6,000 megawatt of electricity, and it's going to store 74 billion cubic meters of water. Why 74? I don't know. Egypt and Sudan, it's themselves which are receiving the water after Ethiopia. Both of them, the amount they are receiving is 73 billion cubic meters.
Dr. Hedy Swalem raises self-sufficiency in land and food production. Executed by Dr. Hedy Swalem, and Dr. Hedy Swalem has carried out research and applied projects in the areas of water, food, and educational zones since 2003 without interruption, with almost researchers from most universities in Egypt. He believes that no one can achieve real change alone, but there is always teamwork. A new edition of Agriculture, linking the size of water, energy, and food in Egypt, and this project is a model for the future of scientific research in Egypt by benefiting from the project in which more than 10 researchers from different fields, all of them Egyptian youth, participate in, and in cooperation with serious industrialists and various different bodies which are interested in the results of this important research and seek behind it. This is what it's called. He prepared a plan for Egypt in the field of energy production, in the field of to produce production for the limited water energy and opportunities for water desalination and the production of crops and fish, and led the Rhine River on citizens and facilities. And Dr. Hedy Swalem is still working on his career and his success story, and is still doing everything in his power to achieve the best research and practical results.